Well, I have a sneaky suspicion today that cryptocurrency aficionados might not be liking this sort of talk of decoupling. Anyways, plenty to talk about today with the actual news of yesterday, any news, but actual news, so to speak. And but before we get into that, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest of the happiest on this nice little Friday. It is dark AF, so we are quite literally in the cave today, and this is beautiful for myself because I can actually get a full night of sleep. So this is great when I'm not drinking coffee myself, as that's where that's where the magic happens, I guess. Anyways, putting the focus over here on the Krown application, which can be found at app.krown.net. What do we see? We see Bitcoin dominance still around the same area, still holding that 58 to 59% region. Also on open interest, or global open interest, I should say, we do see it still hovering around that 2 billion marker. So it did come down about 50 million from yesterday to today since we last spoke, but still holding the overall range. I've been getting a few questions about this, so let me kind of relate this concept before we get into the actual news, I guess. Jesus Christ, man, I'm talking about fucking news on a trading channel. How ridiculous is this? But with the open interest, the range that we've been seeing as Bitcoin kind of consolidates between about 10,000 right here and 11,000 right here has been on open interest 1.9.5 billion to 2.1.5 billion as well. So what we really want to be seeing is we want to see a break of the price action range, whether that be below 10,000 about, or it's really 10,100, or above 11,000, technically 11,100 as well. Correlated with a break of the range on the open interest. It doesn't matter whether it goes to the upside or the downside, above 2.1.5 billion or below 1.9.5 billion, but they would have specific interpretations. If the open interest does start to come down while Bitcoin actually does break in one of those directions, that would suggest that it's actually not going to be followed up with a long momentous drive. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't get some continuation, but it would suggest that people are actually taking opposite positions of this, or just letting go of their former, in this case, letting go of longs. For what it's worth, to the upside, if we were to see a 2.1.5 billion break alongside a break, for example, to the upside of the price action range, 11,100, then that would actually be pretty damn good, as it would suggest that, well, is very likely to get continuation as price action is moving in the same direction as open interest, or maybe I should say rather open interest going up with price action supporting that direction, plus volume and typically volatility as well, is usually going to be a pretty damn good indication that we're actually going to see a major trend emerge from that region. That has been pretty damn dependable for the history of Bitcoin, actually. And those four things, so they need to be combined together. If you don't have all four of them on the same mark, then probably not going to work. Fear and greed index, what do we see? We see it coming down about 4 points from 45 to 41. And do we see anything of note on the data tab right here? And can we load? Yes, we can. All right, still kind of hanging out that 0.02% region. Not anything too crazy. Still very far away from having to give a fuck about that. And the futures premium over spot, pretty much standard throughout this whole week as well. So let's go in the actual charts themselves, and let's talk a little bit about this news before we get in the actual technical analysis. And first things first, actually, I want to say this because I want to be very, very clear with this. And this is not to say that this is the right thing to do. This is, of course, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. That's the furthest thing from this, and quite in a very, very serious manner right now. But for me, whenever I hear something about the situation that we had yesterday, well, I guess not we had, but that we saw within this space yesterday with actually one of the owners of Bitmex being arrested, the CTO. It's kind of a big deal, by the way, and all of the owners being brought charges against by literally the United States of America, the United States of fucking America, brought about by technically the CFTC, by the way. What I do as a trader is I pull all of my money out. I don't care what's going to be the resolution. I don't care if it's right. I don't care if it's wrong. I just do not want to be trading an asset like this when there are more variables in the overall equation that can get in the way of my current edge. So what I do is I get out of Bitcoin and I go trade something else. Forex is nice and good right now. So feel free to get on over there as well. You're going to have your litigations there too. But this one's kind of like the first of the wild west that we see for cryptocurrency that really does matter, in my opinion. Okay, so let me explain. All right, if you're not already aware, what happened in the last 24 hours is that the United States of America, brought by the CFTC, which is basically the oversight for, well, a lot of financial crimes in America, is going to bring about charges or has brought about charges towards the owners of Bitmex, of which one has already been arrested. He's quite literally in custody, and I believe that Arthur Haynes and a couple others are in that list as well. Well, at least Arthur Haynes is, of course, the face of Bitmex. And the issue is, and this is why it's a big deal, and this is why I think you're probably going to see me differ from a lot of other people in the space. Maybe you'll agree with this, maybe you won't agree with this, but I happen to know quite a bit about this because I've had to deal with this myself. And this is only applicable to American citizens. So listen up very, very carefully. And even if you're an American citizen, you probably don't even know this. I didn't learn this until last year because I was living abroad. And there are rules in America, or I guess just rules with America, better said, that basically if you are an American citizen and you have more than $10,000 in a financial bank account, a foreign financial bank account at any point within the year, more than $10,000 at any point, doesn't matter what you end or anything like that, then you need to report what's called an FBAR it's not to the RS, but it's like to the, I don't actually know exactly who it's to, but I do report it. It's fucking annoying to do. It's actually pretty easy, but yes, if you do have a financial account, a foreign financial account, actually, it's not a foreign bank account, it's a foreign financial account. So what does that mean? That means that basically, Bitmex, it would be a financial account. Yes, if you're on Deribit, that would be a financial account. If you have basically any amount of money in anywhere, that can be considered a financial account, then yes, there can be major penalties if you do not report that. Yes, it's actually, I think it's like $10,000 every month for every I think it's what is that? Maybe that's 5471. Sorry, I'm probably boring you with this, but basically it's like $10,000 every month if you're a U.S. citizen and you fail to report on your FBAR. At any time. And this goes on indefinitely, by the way. So this bill can run up to like millions of dollars very, very quickly. This is just for U.S. citizens, by the way. So that means that the foreign financial institution itself, in this case Bitmex, is also required to report these sorts of things to the United States government by the Bank Secrecy Act. That's what they're going at them with. So this is why it matters, and this is why I think it's kind of a bigger deal than what a lot of people are leading on right now, in the sense that, well, if they want to go after any one of the other major exchanges, Bybit. If they want to go after Deribit, if they want to go after probably Binance as well. I don't know their actual legal situations. Maybe they have been reporting, their customers' financial accounts to the U.S. government. Who knows? But probably not. That should give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess. So we don't know, but I would imagine that this is going to open up a lot of roads because Bitmex is just the first one that they really decided to go after. And seeing as this is rather widespread, and anytime that there is a U.S. citizen who is on one of those exchanges, the U.S. government can technically go after them, or CFTC can technically go after them. What's interesting about that is that it can also lead up into other major things as well. So not only is this going to draw attention to all the major exchanges, but now you're going to probably catch the attention of the SEC, who can go in with their big BBC-sized long dildo and fuck you no matter which way that you want. And it is really, 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 really awful. And they are very, 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 very serious people. The CFTC, very serious people. I actually sat by one during my years at New York Stock Exchange ARCA, and it was you always have to watch what you're saying around this kind of person, because even if you're joking around, it can be taken in a serious manner, and big financial consequences can happen, and that's actually a serious thing. So it's I'm kind of laughing about it right now, but I happen to know that these guys don't fuck around. Anyways, so what does that mean for the actual price action of Bitcoin? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Well, I think it would be naive to say that it's a good thing for the short term. That's silly. Long term, actually, probably it is good, because it's going to get rid of all of these shitty exchanges. Not shitty exchanges. I mean, they definitely serve their purpose. I know a lot of people have enjoyed them, and they've been integral to kind of building up this space, but they're probably going to get wiped out in turn to be replaced by more legitimized financial institutions, at least in the eyes of formalized governments. So that means that we're probably going to see the way paved for an actual Bitcoin ETF. We're probably going to see the way paved for just getting more of these Bitcoin derivatives not listed on fucking Bitmex, but probably on something like CME, like we already see, or other major exchanges. It's very likely to happen in that vein, because what they're doing, at least in my opinion, is they're going to clear all these guys out. As we've been saying this for a long time, although I thought that this was going to happen in maybe 3 to 5 years. Apparently it's going to happen this year, so fair enough. There you go. And then they'll start to list it on major exchanges and provide an actual way to legitimize this thing. If you were around in 2017, was it 2017 or 2018? And you don't even have to be around that time. Do you happen to know what One Broker is? If not, definitely go look it up. It was a really, really famed exchange, and they got kind of popped for the same sort of reasons, similar sorts of reasons, at least. And it just really went to show that if the SEC or if the CFTC wants to go get you, they're going to go get you. Those guys were actually doing, or at least from what we understand, it wasn't really all that bad. You know, it's like pretty remedial, but they shut them down anyways. And well, you can still see I think you can still see the SE or seized by the United States of America on their website if you try to go to it. Kind of crazy. Anyways, as far as price action goes, like I said, it's not necessarily that I think Bitcoin's going to just absolute dump to the floor or pump to the absolute moon, today or tomorrow. It's more so as a trader, I would rather not trade this right now when my edge as a technical analyst is essentially diminished, looking at something like this. If we get to macro areas, which we've been laying out for the past like month or so, I will trade those just because those are very, 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 very long-term areas. Again, it could just kind of spoil the surprise. 10,000, which we're currently at right now, so fair enough. 9,100, and then of course the low 7,000s or mid to low 7,000s are all areas that I consider macro areas for Bitcoin if it is going to maintain this overall uptrend. And if Bitcoin really does want to, wash a lot of people out, it will go down to those lower echelons. But unless anything between those, I'm not interested in trading here. And I'll just go trade Forex and let the dust settle for like a week or maybe 2 weeks or something like that. I don't think that it's anything too crazy, but again, for myself, risk averse, I really do not like dealing with that. And I'd relate this concept to other people out there, like playing poker, for example. I'm not a poker player, but I think I understand it enough to make this probably bad analogy. But basically what's happening, or what happens in a situation like this, or okay, first let me give you the straight up analogy. Poker and trading, basically. Poker, you wait until you have a good hand. It has a statistical probability to win. You play it, and if you're a good poker player, you know how those probabilities work out, so you know how to bet it. Essentially, trading is a similar thing. You wait for your signals. You should have some statistics on those, or at least have some history from you back testing them. And then what you can do from there is you can come up with a trading plan basically in the same way. There's going to be some sort of probability granted that I get this signal, and this signal, or these few in confluence, and that's going to work out over time, and that's the idea. Mediated by risk management. So that's a little bit of a different thing right there. But now in this situation like this, where you get a complete wild card thrown in your face, or potentially a complete wild card thrown in your face, it would be as if someone just put in a bunch of more just random cards into the deck. They're not even like numbered in the same way that they're supposed to be. They're just like fucking, alien symbols or some shit. But still, you have to play with those. So naturally, it's going to diminish the probability that former hand was going to play. That's a way that I look at a situation like this. So I just step away and I go play Forex land, which is actually pretty damn ripe right now. Anyways, so as it stands right here, if I'm going to get into price action, which this is all going to be taken with a great grain of salt. I think I've flip-flopped like every fucking day in the last week or so, whether I'm short-term bullish or bearish. Now, for the short-term moves, we actually have gotten those, but realistically, no follow through within this range, and quite literally, it is just consolidation as it is right now. But one thing that I've been very consistent with saying is that I do not feel very confident about this price action, and I'd extend that here too, actually. Although there finally is, for the first time in a while, an actual legitimized signal that we do see that I will be showing soon enough. So with that said, again, I think that it's important to reiterate the state once again that while I do see that one thing today, just because of these X factor situations, I do not really feel like this is the time for this sort of thing. But anyways, looking at this right here, yes, do we see Bitcoin breaking back down below all major or a couple of these major moving averages right here without even we never even got a positive slope on both of them on that last drive up yesterday on the 1st of October, which is kind of interesting right here. I'm talking about between the yellow 21 and the green 55. So technically the bearish cross is still in play. But what's most interesting to me right now is actually the 4-hour here. The 4-hour jewel did get a sell signal. Now it got a sell signal in the area that I do not play myself. I look at this as like a hodlier short signal, but everything's kind of working for it right here, as we do see the white and the pink both downwardsly sloped alongside the light blue, which is also kind of which is not just kind of, it is getting rejected from those, all with downward slopes. Those are typically pretty damn good. Again, I like to see the signal happen over here, not in here, but typically that will get a little bit more momentum. And looking at this chart right now, well, what do we have? We have a slew of lower highs. If we're looking at, well, anything around a daily, really, here's a lower high right here, here's a lower high right here, here's a lower high right here. Actually, no, just be 1, 2. Or if we go all the way back to the high at 12,500, high, lower high, lower high, lower high. You get what I'm saying. Now, we also do on the other end have a slew of higher lows, low, higher low, and potentially working on another higher low over here. But for right now, I do believe that the short short-term and medium-term momentum is to the downside. We do see what is caretaker showing right here? Oh, that's interesting. We actually did have a little bit of bearish divergence on this drive right here. That's kind of crazy. I actually would have not caught that myself. I'm not trying to blow smoke up caretaker's ass right there, but actually it is technically right though. Yes, that would have been a fucking fast play though. I don't know if I would have been able to catch that. Straight up. But looking at this right here, look, the short-term and medium-term momentum is all turning down together in unison. And that's kind of the one piece that we were missing over the past week or so, when I was kind of feeling like, hey, this is, it's kind of saying this, kind of also saying this. We're getting bifurcated signals right here. Now we're actually seeing a lot of things line up with each other. So first and foremost, we do see 12-hour Stokes having a fresh turn to the downside in the deep critical zone for the bullish control zone. What do we see on reverse Stoke indicator cross by Mr. Pig himself? We do see momentum will remain to the downside, essentially as long as we're below that last prior high at about 10,850-ish region. Now this will obviously change on the next closure as well, but we got plenty of space to go right there. And looking at 12-hour RSI is starting to take a little bit more of a bearish twist there as well. So we're finally getting a little bit of confluence with each other. What about the 4-hour? We already kind of looked at this. We see 4-hour Joule giving a decent sell signal. 4-hour RSI actually gave a nice what's called a bearish divergence drive right there between this point and this point again as well. Getting the same one as a 12-hour. This one a little bit more playable because it did technically confirm right here, and then we got how much more continuation. This got the move from 10.7 all the way down to 10.450. Not bad. And then we see 4 hour Stokes turning down at the same time too. Actually, you can even kind of fit in a trend line here as well. Rejecting from the bullish control zone, by the way. So short-term momentum is definitely to the downside. 4-hour RSI is more bearishly sided as well. And I'd be curious to see what the 3-hour and the very, very low-term timeframes suggest here too. Yeah, we do see 3-hour Stokes popping down here too. What else do we see? 3-hour, not much here. Now it's kind of just sloppy droppy. And then what do we see over here? Not really much on 3-hour RSI actually. So maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself right now. As is this really bifurcated or not? No, we do see 2-hour Stokes actually heading up right here. Oh, Jesus, man. But just when you think that you had something, now it goes and does this. I want to see all the lower term timeframes agree with each other. So maybe we do see a little bit of a short term up right now and play at a little more range. And then perhaps the 4-hour will start to take over and the higher term timeframes. Yeah, hourly popping back up here too. So short term, actually extremely short term, we probably do see another move back up towards, 10.7 or such. But if the, if the bears do want to attack here, they do have a few things on their side. And I'd really be keeping a keen eye on the 10-hour right here. If the 10-hour does start to close, especially below where momentum turns back onto the downside, which is 10,585.5, by the way, on GDAX, then yes, I would be looking for an extension, very likely back down to about 10.3 or 10.250-ish region. And, does Bitcoin get a wick back down to about 10,000 or whatever, wherever the 200 exponential average is right now? Actually 9,900 over the weekend. If we were to close, anywhere around or anywhere really below 10.3 or 10.350 coming into today's closure for the weekly, then yes, I'd probably be looking for some wick fishing going down there over the weekend. But still, the same ranges essentially apply here. While I won't be trading this $10,000 region again, I'd still be looking at the same areas that we kind of overlaid over the past couple months as potential reversal zones for this current consolidation. Which technically still can be 10,000 to be fair, or technically speaking 10,100-ish region, and of which we'll just draw them in right now, or I guess I already got them in, and we can actually make a nice big old blue box for a bottom side one. This is being done on a daily, so it's going to hold quite a bit of weight, getting our last few lows right here at 10.1 all the way down to the 200 exponential average right there. Good confluence, plenty of wicks accumulated within this region as well, so it does seem to operate as an incredibly powerful long-term, maybe even macro liquid zone right there. As long as this one does hold up, technically speaking, this is a potential reversal zone, I suppose, although it's not looking as, as hot anymore. And to the upside, well, realistically, I think right now it'd be a lot better to err more on the conservative side. As long as below 11,100, kind of hard to get excited about this. You can see that this was essentially the base that was built out all throughout August, and this is exactly what we've been getting rejected from throughout the month of September. It's like 1 month into the next month for 5 minutes of fucking trend. That's about it that you get. That's it. But as long as we're caught between this range right here, I don't see any. There's no real long-term calls to be made. This just can be considered one major consolidation with a short-term slight downside twist, which likely does imply that we do come back down and at the very least test like 10.3 or 10.250, and do we get a wick in into this liquid zone of the weekend, or maybe even we break it, coming into next week. Very possible, yes, as well. But I'd like to see it actually confirm first and foremost. By the same token, to the upside, Bitcoin can float around, it can float back up, even to 11,000, whatever it wants to do. But as long as it's below about 11,100ish region, I would not feel comfortable calling anything more aggressive. And I could probably even move that down a little bit as well right here. I think that this would equally get it just as well, anywhere between about 10,950 to 10,950 to 11,000 actually right here. So we make a nice little liquid zone to the upside, just like we have to the downside. This one's a little bit more muted here, so that is a little bit more precise, I suppose. But overall, my point is that we're literally in the middle of this range right here in a nice media event. I'd rather look at the greater range above 11,000 or 11,000 on a daily closure. Do I get bullish again? Yeah, I'd be looking for another move back into the mid to upper 11,000s. Anywhere, kind of the same areas that we looked at in August are going to apply here as well. So that would be 11.5, 11.8, it'd be 11.8 right there. Yeah, and then we got, and then of course we got 12,000 right here as well, and all those would still be relevant on the upside. Even if Bitcoin tests those areas in like the next year or whatever it might be, they're still going to be relevant in the future, very, very likely. But still, it's not even really relevant in my opinion as long as below this 11,000 area right here. That's kind of the gatekeeper right now for this current consolidation, of which we can verify this current consolidation as its own little operation, mostly by looking at, both volume and volatility. Volume, I think, is pretty forthright. You can see that it's tailing off from left to right, although we are starting to increase it right here after, actually we are starting to increase it in a little bit of an outlier fashion, so we probably are ready to move. Historical volatility percentile is a lot more interesting to me right here, though, because we are going to be popping back up to meet very likely this regression, or I guess we're actually even a little bit above this regression, but it depends how I draw this. So I can interpret this two ways. If I draw this as a regression, then we're actually trending right now, and you know what, the historic volatility percentile does suggest that, as does the volume. So you know what, I think that's actually the right thing to be going with. I'm not going to be I should stick with what I've been saying for the last week with this one. We're probably going to see expansion from here. So if we're going to see expansion from here, well, what does this look like so far? It looks like a consolidation again, but with the short-term downside twist, that would that would give the bears, their chance nice and early if they want to take it. So I do believe that on this Friday closure, especially for CMEs, we probably do see something that gives clarity on the situation going into the weekend. But for me, it's more or less waiting here. But yes, with historic volatility percentile expanding from this region right here, which by the way, it hit a zero read not so long ago on the 27th of September, that is likely to carry on some big weight. And just to give you an example, we have a couple things going on here actually. First and foremost, we have just a very, very low read right here. That's beginning a nice move already. But what we also have is a long-term contraction phase going all the way back to September. So this is one full month of contraction, one full month of consolidation essentially, and that's that does what's called building up a case. And the longer that you consolidate, the longer that you contract, the bigger the case that you build up. And what happens with the bigger case? It leads to a bigger explosion. And in this case right here, that would mean that the break below 10,100 or the break above 11,000 is going to be likely pretty damn important, and you get a lot of continuation, because we can also likely see it line up with, let's go back to the dashboard right here, with the open interest and we're looking at major areas right now. That's pretty much the picture that I want to be painting. So with that in mind, I don't even think that I talked about the daily all that much, but we do see daily Stokes turning down here as well, rejecting the bullish control zone. Let's see what would be needed to actually keep them down. So the reverse Stochastic indicator cross will tell us that, and that shows 10,720. So I actually do think that we probably pop back up short term and test 10,700, but assuming that is rejection and assuming that Bitcoin closes the day below it, at the end of the day at 8 p.m. Eastern time, then, well, I would probably be looking for a test back down here sometime in the next week. Again, that does not imply that we're actually going to break it, but if we do break it, again, that area being basically the blue box between about 9,900 or 9,950 to about 10.1, then I would be looking towards about 9,100 at the next major level long term. This would be the next area that I believe that we could have a potential major reversal at, an extreme likelihood for a bounce. Like I think it'd be incredibly likely that we have a bounce somewhere in this region, and we're between about 91 and 92 essentially. And would I play it? That's actually an area that I would be interested in once again. Yes, absolutely, for potentially a long-term trade. And if that area does fail, then back down to about about mid to low 7,000, somewhere around here would be about right. The same sort of base that that Bitcoin's kind of been bouncing off of and playing all these phases off of ever since May 2019. And right here, you can kind of see the long-term phase change from there. I don't think that I need to go too far deep into that, but still, as long as Bitcoin's above 10.1. Technically speaking, I look at this as your potential reversal area as well. Just doesn't really feel like that. Let's see what the 2-day and 3-day say right now too. And the 2-day says what? The 2-day Stokes are flip-flopping around. Hard to make much out of that. Let's see what would be needed to actually cross them back onto the downside. Yeah, any sort of a 2-day total closure below 10,325. That'll also be a damn good indication that we're not just going to come back down. No, it'd be a damn good indication that we will see that $99,000 to $10,000 level hit. 2-day RSI, a little bit floaty, slightly bearish. 2-day Jewel, slightly in a more sell posturing. Not really much there though. That's not really a signal. What about a 3-day? I believe that we're closing this one later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and yes, we are. Yeah. What do we see here? 3-day Stokes are actually popping up right now, but a little bit weaker there, and will cross back onto the downside with any sort of a closure below 10.7. So what you can probably notice here is that the 12-hour, daily, 2-day, and 3-day are all seeing momentum kind of align within the same region. As long as we close this next, these next slew, which is actually going to be confirmed later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, below that 10.7 region, especially, yeah, the short-term, medium-term very likely does bring Bitcoin back down at the very least to the low $10,000 region, and then we get to play the game of, is this going to hold again for another anemic bounce or not? Well, you have to start to kind of like look at what price action would look like at that price, if that were to happen. As you can see right here, then you have your lower highs and you don't really have your higher lows anymore, assuming that it comes back down to about 10,000. So we'd actually be operating off of a descending triangle after this major meltdown right here, which would suggest quite literally that, Jesus Christ, man, my fucking eye just got some sort of sleep in it or something. But it start to look like a bearish reaccumulation formation. That makes zero sense. A bearish redistribution formation. That's the word I'm looking for. There you go. Anyways, so that that's what's in the cards right now. Again, it's not to say that Bitcoin can actually blast out the top side of this. I do not think that that these litigations being brought against Bitmex are going to actually have like long-lasting impacts on this price action. It's going to very likely clear the way for more legitimized institutions. And does that mean that Bitcoin's going to be dying? Probably no. I mean, in fact, Jesus, I should have talked about this much earlier. All these exchanges going away. Yes, it's going to affect Bitcoin price in the short term, but long term, no. I mean, the price of Bitcoin is different from the exchange's legitimacy. A lot of markets go like this. They start off in the wild west, and then once they get popular enough, they start to move to more traditional venues, and that's when they catch the attention of the CFTC and SEC and the likes of that. Anyways, what about on our secondary charts over here? What do we see? We do see, so this is starting to look more obvious as well. MACD histogram is loosening in script. It's almost back around the zero read, but more importantly, our two oscillators right here, or not oscillators, but you know what I mean. Our true signals lines right here are approaching the zero read as well, and that's typically where you do see some counter trend pressure. So I do believe that we are kind of at a, we're seeing a slew of momentum, a slew of momentum indicators start to suggest that this is slowly waning to the downside, especially with another failure to get back above about 10.7 today. And guess where the 20 simple is, and actually even the 10 simple by extension on the on the Bollinger Bands here for the daily, they're literally right at 10.7 as well. So as long as we're below there, we will see them naturally cross back onto the downside. There's been a lot of fakey outs here, and as these Bollinger Bands do contract on each other, it would suggest that we actually are getting pretty close to this resolution as well. So historical volatility percentile, volume, and actually even formations here too, plus this would suggest that we are getting pretty damn close to resolution. I would even argue probably next week, as we did say, first and a half week of October likely to break outside of this range, and I'd still be holding with that. Anyways, let's go over and check out traditional marks, because this is looking a lot different right now, and a little bit of an ode to the to what I started off this stream with is essentially this is if you are going to be looking at decoupling, which crypto people like to talk about a lot, well, we did see NASDAQ actually take out the critical area that we spoke about yesterday, which was 30th September highs. I believe that was Tuesday or Wednesday. No, it was Wednesday. And right now, a little bit of a short-term pullback. I would be looking for this to get another try to the upside, probably somewhere around anywhere between about 11,750 and 11,850-ish region. Do I actually have this already marked in? Yeah, I do. It's the blue box territory right here. And then I'll be looking for some short-term pullback action from there. But here's the thing with the month, or sorry, not the monthly, but the weekly closure coming later today. It's going to be closing at a pretty damn good level, and I actually would be looking for this one to give an overall try higher coming into next week. Now, I'm not saying that the downside is over on this one just yet, but I do believe that short-term, medium-term upside has been initiated here for another few $100 to the upside, and that's going to likely bring up everything else. So you can kind of just apply that to just about any old name, and it is what it is. But it's all set up for next week. So that's kind of the picture that I'm painting right here. And I'm pretty much bullish on this one short term as long as we're above 11,450. And we can I don't know if I already have this drawn in. I guess I do. It's just got a thicker line. There we go. But yeah, as long as we're above this pivot right here, short term, medium term, looking for some upside essentially. Now, if we do break back down below 11,450, this is going to very likely come all the way back down to the low side of the range at 11,000 even, so that would be of interest, but I don't believe that that's what's happening right here. Momentum oscillators would also suggest that that's not what's happening. We do see daily Stokes, nice, very, very erect right there, and by the way, that's a strong read in traditional markets. They operate a little bit differently in comparison to crypto, because a lot of people in crypto would look at that as like likely to turn back down. No, that's not the way that you look at it in traditional markets. Looking at daily RSI, what do we see? Constructive. It's very constructive here, bouncing off the bearish control zone, holding its nice behavior, and looking like it's gonna put in some time. Now, it's not really ready to bust back into the bullish control zone just yet. So I would be looking for this range to play out for a little bit of time. This range being basically where we are right now, all the way up to the blue box territory, and then we'll probably see things align coming into next week for something more obvious. But right now, that's how it's looking like, and probably setting up for a nice little move next week. And I do believe that we probably do test in this region, regardless of the fact. Anyways, what about euro dollar really quick, coming back down? Ooh, getting rejected from the exact area that we spoke about, 117.5. Nicely done. Actually, a little bit higher than that. All right, Krown's wrong. Kill him. I hope you die, Krown, you piece of shit, you. I feel the same way sometimes. Anyways, monthly right here. I'm still looking at this as a reversal. I'm looking for this one to come all the way back down to 115 and beyond, probably even over a long period, like over the next year or two, probably back down to maybe even 110. This looks very bad. I mean, this is a 12-year long trend going all the way down, and we got rejected at the 200x benchmark average. This is a bearish engulfing dildo. I happen to think that that's going to get some continuation as well. And look at this, historical volatility percentile been contracting for literally 5 years, going back to 2015. And well, I hope I would hope for you euros out there that expansion phase does not come to the downside. For my dollars, probably going to help. Anyways, what else do we want to check out? I think this video is already really fucking long, so I probably don't want to go over the full thing. Let's go check out Uni, whatever the fuck, unicorns, the unicorns. Well, what could be happening here? This is definitely bullish, right? Yep, that's right. It's very bullish. Anyways, incredibly bullish. What about Link BTC? What do we see here? A little bit more downside angled as well. Do we see anything obvious though on a 12-hour? Yeah, 12 hours looking a little more downside angle. I'd be looking for another swipe back down to about 80,000 Satoshi low. I think we said coming into this week, probably another move back down to about 88,000 Satoshis. We already got that. Yeah, we already got that. I don't know. Should I be looking for some more downside here? Yeah, I think the news of yesterday has kind of thrown a little bit of a spanner in the works for a lot of things, because most of my oscillators are saying down right now in the short term and on the daily. So yeah, I probably would be looking for another swipe down here. So yeah, I'd have to extend that target. So we already hit 88,000. I'd be looking for probably 80,000 even, maybe even a little bit below there. But I don't think that it's ready to break down below that level just yet. I'd be surprised if this one closed below the 21 at the end of this week. When the 21 is actually 80 or about 89,000. It looks like, yeah. What about gold? What is gold doing? Looks very similar to what we saw on euro dollar, getting that short-term pop back up. I'd be looking for it to likely reject around this region as well. Long-term, I do believe that this one's coming back down to 1750 and 1620. What's that level again? Let me go to the monthly. Yeah, somewhere, or sorry, 1750 and, oh, it's actually easy to remember, 1750 and 1650 looks like, but that's long term. For right now, playing out some sideways and down is the name of the game. Might even pop back up in the short term to like 1920, but I would, no, I'm not really looking for that to happen. What about Dixie? That should be the harbinger of death and despair, or peace and prosperity. We did say yesterday coming back down, or sorry, 2 days ago coming back down to $94. Did overshoot that a little bit. Fair enough, $93.50. However, right now bouncing off the 21 exponential moving average. This one's going to be really, really important to see the weekly closure on, because the weekly, as long as it closes above about $94, I'm still bullish on this one going into next week. So fair enough. I just want to see the weekly closures from here. And speaking of, let's actually go look at CMEs for now and see what they got going on. And Jesus Christ, man, this is just mind-numbing price action right here, going sideways. CME weekly still is completely fine, and so is spot on the weekly as well. But that's long term. On the daily, yes, more downside angled for sure. Looking for a move down to about 10,100, 10,200 area. And yes, we do have your next lower high confirmed. So we get to play the game of, do we make a lower low? If there's any sort of a low printed below 10.3 on CMEs, or sorry, closed below on 10.3, or printed below, what is this? The 23rd of September low at 10,210. Yeah, 10,210. Yeah, that is right. Then I'd be looking for extension back down here, somewhere around the 200 exponential moving average, which is currently hovering around like 97 or 9,800-ish region. And we actually did just initiate hidden bearish divergence on this drive as well. Nice one, Caretaker. I didn't catch that one on spot price action. Is it on spot price action? It's not. No. It's only on CMEs. So once again, the CMEs just have a better chart to read, at least in my opinion. And yeah, that very likely does beget another move back down, 10-2, 10-3 region. Daily Stokes about to cross down as well and reject the bullish control zone. Not good. And what does Pig have to say about that? He says they remain to the downside as long as below 10,000 and about 900. Anyways, I think I'm going to start to wrap this bitch up. And oh, Mrs. Kitchen is here. Gotta get this one done before she finishes her morning shit, I guess. All right, sorry, she doesn't actually shit. She poops out puppies or rainbows or something. I guess that's what she tells me. But yeah, looking at this right here, let's check out probabilities with ranges. And so the probabilities for ranges, we kind of actually want to keep the same to the upside, 11,000 about. 11,000. To the downside, I'd be looking at 11.1. That's what I want to be looking at. So let's see what this got. 11, just even right there, and 10. That seems a little bit high. 10. Let's just make it 10 even. Just for easiness. And hold on, need a few more zeros there. Jesus, man, I'm way off today. Let's see what this got. Let's see. And looking at this, it would suggest, okay, that's yes, that is right. Okay, great. 72% probability that we should just remain within this whole range. But remember, this is the greater range between 10,000 and 11,000, basically. Now, if we want to mark this off of continuation points, which I don't really trust right now, but it's worth seeing, we'd use yesterday's low and actually yesterday's high. I don't feel that confident with using this. I just want to be very, 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 very forthright in saying that, though. But yeah, for the downside, it would be exactly where it would be 10.4. Let's just call it 10.450. 10.450 right there. And to the upside, it would be, I think, like 10.9. Or 10,950, I think it was from yesterday's high. What exactly was it? Yeah, a little bit below there, but fair enough, close enough anyways. 41.25% probability that we should remain within this region, and a pretty damn good probability that we actually do bust out the downside. Now, this would just be a continuation point, so it would only speak towards a likely move back down to the low side of the range. In this case, that would be 10.1 or that would basically be 10,000. We'll call it. So that actually has a very, very high probability, 35.5%. And the upside probability, decent enough as well. I mean, 23.25% is decent, right? That means that it'd probably happen if we were to have the same situation 4 times, it'd happen one of those times, about a little bit less than that, technically speaking, but you get, just rounding up here. So fair enough. Technically speaking, probabilities on the favor of the downside, and so are oscillators as well. And that's kind of where I'd be leaving you today. By the way, I've saved this to the very, very end. I've actually just forgotten, but now that I've remembered, I'll save it to the very, very end. I'm going to be on Twitch today. I'm going to be doing a Twitch stream for a new game that I just got that I'm rather excited about. We'll be doing some probably looking at some Bitcoin there too, but mostly playing and just shooting the shit. If there are any trades that come about, I'll be taking them. But like I said, I'll be trading Forex here unless if one of the macro areas hit for Bitcoin. Until then, though, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest. Take care, and until next time.